So a little bonus video today. I had to stop rather abruptly as I was making the prototype because little dogs needed to go to the bathroom. But I thought I'd come back on and finish it up so that I didn't leave everybody hanging all night. All right. So what I did was I had marked. I had marked the pattern on one side and had just cut out the mouth and the bottom, and then I just traced the darts onto the other side, and then by lining up the places I cut out, and then I have just pinned the darts. So I'm going to sew it real quick on the machine because I want to see if this thing will fit the head. So that way I can obsess over it all night if it doesn't. Okay. And this is going to be down and dirty and not particularly well sewn. But I have found that one of the things that happens when I machine sew stuff, especially, is that a lot of times I'm not accurate enough to hit the back of this, or sorry, hit the back of this correctly. So I do it this way without cutting it out at first because I want to be able to have a little bit of slop on the second side. So that's also why I didn't cut out or mark the other side, is because now I can leave it, it can sew wherever it really needs to, and I don't have to worry about going off the cutout part. Hopefully this is helpful to somebody. Maybe somebody else figured this out, but this is the way I figured it out with my less than professional sewing skills. And I probably don't need to backstitch these darts, or I do at the beginning, but not the end, because they'll get locked in place by the other one. But it's a good habit to get into. The biggest thing is to make sure that the big thread, whatever that one's called, that's a technical term, it's long enough that it doesn't unspool itself while unthread itself while you do the first couple stitches. Okay, so I got both these darts cut now, and I'm going to switch cameras here. What a delightful camera there. What I do now is I cut off the excess fabric from the darts. Both of them. You don't want to get too close, but you don't want to be too far away either. So. Okay, now I'm going to repin everything with this one on the, with this one on top, and I'll reline up the mouth and the bottom and the darts. I thought I had that marked. Oh, yeah. So that's going to end up lined up like so. Again, this is real, quick, because I just want to make sure it fits before I dig into the freshly dyed F3 or Antron if you have it. Okay, I'm going to line all these things up as best as they fit. Okay. Line up the darts. And I probably should actually use pins on these because it's not like cut out. And I'm not going to do, let me think. I'll leave, maybe, I'll leave the back open on this one just because I want to make sure that I can get the head inside of it. It is a pretty narrow neck. But I'll probably just sew it here. Line up this other dart. So what I used to do is I used to cut out both of them with like a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and invariably I'd get off the mark just a little bit, and I ended up with a big hole in it. So this keeps that from happening because there's a lot of slop on the back side of it. And I also if I mark both sides, then there were areas where I would see the line if I did it badly. So I used to do a lot more machine sewing on these puppets, but most of the time I just hand sew it. So none of this applies. Okay, so it's all pinned. Go back together. Okay. You want to lock it. I'm super excited to see if this works. make sure it's nice and flat on the other side too. Okay. So now my little prototype head is sewn. Let's see how close I got on the other side. So you can see here I didn't even hit that line. Hit that one. So, but it's again, if I had cut it out, I might have gone off and had a big hole there. So let me get all these clips and pins and everything else out of here. Okay, I'm gonna trying to cut off my long threads here. And I'm cutting close to the, I know it's hard to see. I'm cutting close to the line, seam. I'm trying to cut off as much as I can. Because you don't want a lot of extra. You could actually sew the final head. This is the way I do the Tilly puppets I sell. But you could sew it on the machine if you wanted to. I just think you get a better finish to hand sew it. Okay, so I've now made this whole thing. Turn it right side out. Moment of truth, see if it actually fits. Here's his head. Some mystery thread that's sticking out. Okay. I even have a head that's, I mean, a nose that's covered, and I think it's still going to be too thin. Okay, I'm going to have to take out some of this. Because there's absolutely no give to this. So I actually have to not, if I'm going to do this, I have to not sew to almost to the dart there. So let me make that adjustment. It doesn't really matter if it doesn't stay. I mean, because there's not going to be a lock stitch at the end here anymore. I just have to get it on one time and see if it fits, and then I'll be good to go. Okay, so that's that. I don't know. I may have shown this on one of the other builds, but this is, I don't think I've done a prototype skin before online. Okay, so I'm going to line up that seam. Push that on. So this was patterned to make it so that it overlapped by about a half an inch into the lip, maybe a little less. That's where I glue it. I'm not going to glue this version of it because it's not the real one. Okay. Pin it. Pin it to win it. Try and pin it in such a way so I don't stab myself when I... Okay, and because that's not closed up on the back, I'm going to use these little clips to clip it shut. Trying not to get the inside liner in there too. Giving him a facelift. And like I said, I have a covered nose back from when I was building another Ralph, so I can actually use that nose to pin it on. It's looking pretty good. And I covered that dart, which is great. So that worked. Let me get that other nose. So I'm trying to find the pin coming through. There it is. Oh my gosh. Okay, where's nose is going to go right there. There we go. Get another pen, stick it through. Just kind of secure that nose. Now, with any luck, he'll still have as much flexibility as he had before. Even with the skin on. Ouch. We'll put a couple more pins in the sides of the mouth here to kind of keep it in place. His mouth may need to be just a little bit bigger. I can adjust the pattern because the corner of his mouth goes all the way back here. So I am going to make that just a little bit bigger. And I'll adjust the pattern because I want his mouth to be even more. Okay. Okay. I think that looks pretty darn good. Okay, so watch for those pins. So you can start to see if he loses his, he's still got. Okay, so I need to open that mouth up just a little bit. So let me do that. Because I want to make sure that I don't lose the flexibility. There we go. Yeah, it needs a little bit more. It just basically, it needs to have a little bit more flexibility in this mouth. But I think I can work into that. See, I'm already making excuses for this puppet. Okay. Yeah, I think this is I successfully patterned this thing aside from the mouth, which I'll make those adjustments to the pattern. Here's the pattern. So what I'll do is I'll take this off and I will trace it onto this part of it. And I think what it's going to do, I think what it's going to end up being is something like that. Which, honestly, that's not terrible. Hooray! Alrighty. Well, I guess I could have delayed Tilly walking by about 15 minutes, and I could have shown you all in that other video. But I hope this is useful to somebody, and hopefully somebody sees it. And I will see you guys tomorrow about